The moment he quietly stepped through the revolving doors of the towering corporate headquarters, no one looked at him twice. His plain grey jacket, worn leather shoes, and simple canvas bag made him appear like someone who had wandered into the wrong building. Receptionists ignored him, security guards watched him with suspicion, and sharply dressed executives hurried past as though he were invisible. Within minutes, whispers spread across the marble lobby that another lost visitor had somehow entered the executive floor. But everything changed when an elderly janitor stopped polishing the floor, looked into the stranger's eyes, dropped his cleaning tools, and respectfully bowed with tears filling his eyes. The silence that followed stunned every person in the building because the old janitor recognized the humble man instantly, while everyone else had mistaken one of the world's most successful Chinese billionaires for an ordinary visitor. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness matters more than appearance, and that everyone deserves respect regardless of how they look, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue sharing powerful stories that inspire millions around the world. The man was named Wei Chen, although almost no one in the building knew that name. Around the world, he was respected for creating one of the largest technology companies in Asia, employing hundreds of thousands of people and donating billions to education, hospitals, and disaster relief. Newspapers called him a visionary, investors admired his wisdom, governments welcomed his advice. Yet Wei had always believed that success meant nothing if it separated a person from ordinary life. Whenever possible, he traveled without luxury, dressed simply, and visited his companies unexpectedly.
He believed that a business revealed its true character only when people thought no important guest was watching. On that rainy morning, Wei had decided to inspect one of his newest international headquarters without announcing his visit. Only the chairman of the board knew he might arrive sometime during the month, but not even the chairman knew the exact day or hour.
Wei wanted to experience the company exactly as every ordinary visitor experienced it. He wanted to understand whether respect was offered freely or reserved only for those wearing expensive suits. As soon as he entered the lobby, he politely greeted the receptionist with a warm smile. She barely lifted her eyes before pointing toward a waiting area without asking his name. Several executives standing nearby glanced at him with expressions filled with impatience, assuming he was another job applicant who had arrived at the wrong entrance. One young manager quietly complained that security should prevent people like him from entering executive floors because they gave the building an unprofessional appearance. None of them realized that the quiet man listening to every careless word owned the company that paid all their salaries. Wei remained calm. Throughout his life he had learned that people's first reactions often revealed more about their hearts than their intelligence. Instead of becoming angry, he simply observed. Every ignored greeting, every judgmental glance, and every dismissive gesture became another lesson about the culture growing inside the organization he had spent years building. As he waited patiently, he noticed employees rushing through the lobby carrying expensive coffee cups while completely ignoring the elderly janitor carefully cleaning the polished marble floor. Some stepped over his equipment without saying "excuse me." Others complained that he was working too slowly. The old man apologized every single time, even though he had done nothing wrong. Wei quietly watched the scene with sadness, because he remembered someone from his own childhood. Decades earlier, Wei's father had worked as a school janitor in a small village in China. Despite earning very little, he had always returned home with dignity because he believed every honest job deserved respect. He taught his son that the richest person in any room should be the one with the kindest heart, not the largest bank account. Those lessons became the foundation of Wei's life, guiding him long before wealth ever entered the picture. The elderly janitor finally looked up from his work and froze. His tired eyes widened with disbelief before slowly filling with tears. For several long seconds, he simply stared at the humble visitor. Then, without hesitation, he placed his cleaning cloth aside, walked across the shining floor, and respectfully bowed. His voice trembled as he welcomed Mr. Wei Chen with sincere gratitude, thanking him for once changing his family's future through a scholarship program that had allowed his granddaughter to attend university. He explained that although Wei had probably forgotten, they had met briefly years earlier during a charity event where Wei had personally spoken to every family instead of rushing through photographs. The lobby became completely silent. Executives who moments earlier had ignored the visitor suddenly realized who stood before them. The receptionist turned pale. Security guards exchanged nervous glances. Managers who had mocked his appearance lowered their heads in embarrassment. They could hardly believe that the world's famous billionaire had been standing among them while they judged him solely because of his clothing. Wei gently helped the elderly janitor stand upright before warmly shaking his hand. Instead of discussing business, he asked about the janitor's health, his granddaughter's education, and whether life had become easier for the family. The old man's face glowed with genuine happiness because someone remembered him not as an employee but as a human being. That simple conversation revealed more about true leadership than every motivational speech hanging inside the company's conference rooms. Soon, the chairman and senior executives rushed downstairs after hearing shocking news from the lobby. They apologized repeatedly for the disrespect Wei had experienced and promised immediate disciplinary action against those responsible. But Wei quietly raised his hand, asking everyone to remain calm. Punishment alone would not solve the deeper problem. The issue was not a single rude employee, it was a culture where appearances had become more important than humanity. We requested a meeting with every employee before the end of the day. The enormous auditorium filled quickly as rumors spread throughout the building. Many workers expected angry speeches, dismissals, and harsh criticism. Instead, Wei walked onto the stage wearing the same simple clothes and carrying the same worn canvas bag. He began by telling the story of his father's life as a janitor. He explained how people often ignored hardworking individuals performing essential jobs simply because society attached greater value to expensive titles than honest character. He admitted that becoming wealthy had never erased the memories of watching his father quietly clean classrooms after everyone else had gone home. Those memories reminded him that dignity should never depend upon income, education, or appearance. As employees listened, many found themselves reflecting on their own behavior. They remembered times they had ignored cleaners, receptionists, drivers, or cafeteria workers without even offering a smile. Some felt ashamed. Others quietly wiped away tears as they realized how easily success could create arrogance. We explained that every company eventually becomes a reflection of thousands of daily choices rather than grand corporate slogans printed on office walls. Respect shown to customers mattered. Respect shown to investors mattered. But respect shown to the people least likely to improve one's career mattered even more because it revealed genuine character. The elderly janitor sat quietly near the back of the auditorium, overwhelmed that his ordinary morning had become such an extraordinary moment. He had never expected recognition. He had simply greeted someone who had once treated his struggling family with kindness. Without intending to, he had exposed the invisible difference between those who valued appearances and those who valued people. Over the following weeks, remarkable changes spread throughout the headquarters. Employees began greeting one another more warmly. Managers spent time listening instead of simply giving orders. Recognition programs expanded to include maintenance staff, cleaners, security guards, cafeteria workers, and receptionists. Training sessions focused not only on productivity but also on empathy, humility, and respect. Gradually, the atmosphere inside the company transformed into the culture Wei had always imagined. The receptionist, who had ignored Wei, requested permission to apologize personally. She admitted that she had unconsciously judged people based on appearance because she believed professionalism required making quick assumptions. Wei accepted her apology with grace, encouraging her not to live with guilt, but to use the experience as motivation for becoming a kinder person. His forgiveness surprised everyone because true leadership seeks transformation rather than revenge. The young manager who had complained about the visitor also changed dramatically. He volunteered for community outreach programs organized by the company and began mentoring young employees from disadvantaged backgrounds. Years later, he often described that embarrassing morning as the greatest lesson of his professional life, because it taught him that arrogance destroys opportunities while humility creates them. Months passed, and the headquarters became known not only for innovation, but also for its extraordinary workplace culture. Visitors frequently commented on how respectfully employees treated everyone entering the building. Investors noticed improved teamwork, customers experienced warmer service, even financial performance improved, because people who feel respected naturally work together more effectively. One afternoon, Wei quietly returned for another unannounced visit. Once again, he dressed simply and carried the same old canvas bag. This time, however, the outcome was completely different. Before anyone recognized his face, the receptionist greeted him warmly, security guards welcomed him with smiles, and employees politely offered assistance without knowing who he was. They had learned the lesson he hoped would never be forgotten. The elderly janitor smiled from across the lobby as he watched the scene unfold. He knew the building had truly changed. Respect was no longer reserved for important visitors. It had become part of everyday life. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more inspiring stories that remind us what truly matters in life. Special request: before the story ends, please comment with the words, "Character is greater than wealth." We'd love to know how many people believe true greatness begins with kindness. We eventually prepared to leave the building exactly as he had entered it, quietly, without demanding attention or celebration. As he walked toward the exit, he paused for one final look at the employees laughing together, helping one another, and treating every person with equal dignity. He realized that the greatest investment he had ever made was not in technology, buildings, or financial markets. It was in people. Wealth could construct skyscrapers, but only compassion could build trust. Money could purchase influence, but only humility could earn genuine respect. And while fortunes could disappear overnight, the kindness shown to another human being could echo across generations, changing lives in ways no balance sheet could ever measure. The story of that ordinary morning spread far beyond the company's walls. Newspapers reported how a billionaire had tested his own organization, but those who truly understood the event knew that the real hero was not the billionaire himself. It was the elderly janitor whose grateful heart recognized goodness long before wealth entered the picture. His simple greeting reminded an entire company, and eventually millions of people, that the Norris and Nistel Sorder restore up. Value of a person is never determined by clothing, titles, or appearance. True greatness reveals itself through humility, gratitude, and the courage to treat every human being with equal respect. And perhaps that is the richest lesson of all. Because in a world that often judges with the eyes, the strongest hearts are those that choose to see with compassion instead. If you'd like, I can also generate Vinny 5 cinematic image prompts, an SEO-optimized YouTube description, Vinny 5 keywords, Vinny 5 hashtags, and a disclaimer for this story.